Hey, what's up guys, Ravenclaw here and welcome to another guide here on the Ravenclaw channel. Today we're going over the BM Hunter PvP guide. I'll go through bits and pieces like, world PvP of duels, what talents to take, Azeroth gear, everything like that, everything you guys have asked for. I know you guys have been wanting a PvP guide on all the specs, so here is the BM one. If you have any questions, let me know, and as you can see around the screen, there is a timestamp for each section, just in case you want to skip ahead. Other than that, let's go. All right, guys, so let's talk about some gear before we get into everything else. I just want to go over what stats and gear I have been using for BFA. I'm on the Gladiator Sanctum so I can show you the max level gear, something not exactly what you need to take, but things you need to sort of shoot for. So let's have a little look-see. Now, as stats go, BM Hunter had a massive mastery hit, but I still think they are very, very viable in your 2s, 3s, duels, things like that, along with survival. Now, mastery obviously being our main secondary stat, obviously agility being our first. Then I go critical strike with haste and versatility pretty much on the same level. I have worked with more versatility and then critical strike, but I found this setup that I've got right now has been absolutely doing amazing for duels and 2s and 3s and stuff when we were mucking around early beta. I haven't changed this set. I found that this set gives me the most mastery considering the nerf that we just had. Now, let's have a look at Azeroth gear. Now, Azeroth gear, for those that don't know, is what we use now in lieu of our artifact weapons. Our artifact is the Heart of Azeroth. So when that goes up in levels, we are able to then unlock different tiers of the armor. So if we right click on the armor, you'll see that there's different rows. So as that goes up, we get better tiers of gear. Now, we will have a look at the actual PvP set, just so you guys can see what it looks like and the actual stats and stuff that it brings. Now in PvP, you have to remember they have removed your base template that we all had, the cookie cutter specs and all that other stuff. They've removed it in BFA. Now I've tested this in instance PvP, world PvP, all of that, and it's absolutely amazing, which now allows you, I suppose, it sort of takes away from the glory of having your PvP set and your PvE set, but hey, it is what it is. We just roll with the punches. Now, this is your PvP specific set. Now, if we have a look at the Azeroth pieces and stuff, they have more of your main talents spec'd for PvP. Now, as we can see, just for a quick rundown of this, you'll have one I call multi-spec talent, and these other three are specific to each type of hunter. So this is BRBM, that's your marksman, and that is your survival. So now let's have a quick look back at the set that I've got. Now the talents that I was looking for were my kill command buffs, so serrated jaws, because now I'm going for more of a mastery build. Kill command does so much damage, and especially when you get the target under, say, 30% to work with other talents, you just chomp them down. Now, one big thing that I'm going to talk about later is the way that kill command works now. They have changed that, but like I said, we'll get to that later. The next one is Blood Siphon. That increases our mastery by 122, and gives us leech. Great for that survivability, especially in duels. Now, this last one is amazing for duels and world PvP. When we use Feign Death, we get an absorb for 6 seconds. This stacks with other pieces of Azeroth. So, for example, these are my 3 here. For the shoulders, I've gone serrated jaws again. I went with the Elemental Whirl. Okay, so it increases your critical strike, haste, mastery, and versatility by 337. So it chooses, I believe. Yeah, I think it chooses one. I don't know. We'll have a look at it later. And once again, Feign Death. And on my last piece, Feign Death again. So I essentially, so if you have a quick look, when I use Feign Death, I have an absorb shield of 36,000, so 37 roughly. And this is great for those last, if you're getting down to that. I've won duels just by Feign Deathing. Not only do you break combat, but you get that damage reduction as well. And your Blood Siphon. Now this one here, Combined Might. When I was in a BG, this thing was dropping banners actually pretty often. As it says, it empowers 4 people around you, and this is great if you're really setting up on a target in like RBGs or whatever. But like I said, this is all the gear that I take. You can choose whichever you like, but this is what I've tested, and I found this to be actually quite a solid set in PvP. Now, of course, this is all max level gear because I am on the Gladiator Sanctum, but I just wanted to show you, just to give you an idea of sort of what stats and what bits and pieces to aim for in PvP. Alright, now let's move on. Now, let's look at talents. These talents are for your, like, let's say your arenas and your BGs, because I've used this particular build in both arenas and battlegrounds, and I've done pretty good. So in the first tier here, I was using Animal Companion, but I found that Killer Instincts was just overtook it, especially when you got your enemy in that sort of kill range, mixed with your Azeroth gear and other bits and pieces. Like, your kill command just obliterates people. It really does. Whereas even though you have two pets and they're both essentially hitting the target, doing like the same thing, I found that Killer Instincts just takes the lead. Now, the next one here, Scent of Blood, no good. Well, for me, I don't like it. One with the Pact, okay, yeah, we do get that proc, but it doesn't proc enough for PvP situations. So Chimera Shot was pretty much the only choice that I could really go with here. Now, the next one here, this is situational, depending on what you're doing. So in arenas, like you're going 2s and 3s, you'll be usually running with a healer. I took Natural Mending because of the survivability. You know, you're reducing the cooldown of your what's it called? Exhilaration. Camouflage, I mean, unless you really go and select you're running Thug Cleave or whatnot, and you really want to get that opener, yeah, you can do that. But I found, even so, I found that, because I was running jungle, and I found Natural Mending just helped me live that little bit longer. Okay, in the next tier, we've got Murder of the Crows, Thrill of the Hunt, and Venomous Bite. Venomous Bite, I didn't find really beneficial for me at all. Thrill of the Hunt, now the thing is, because PvP, you're always moving around, you don't really get that chance to keep those stacks going. You know what I mean? Like, if you're, because like you say, you're going to kill a target and they're pillar humping and they're getting out of the way, you don't have that chance to keep those, you know, that 3% stacked. It just wasn't worth it. Murder of Crows was just the best choice here. You know, you're opening up, you put that dot on, it's such a solid dot, and yeah, for that tier, that's one I go with. Next tier, once again, this is a bit more situational for you guys. I still love Post Haste, just being able to have that extra mobility, getting out of your roots and snares, and being able to either close the gap to get the kill or to get back to safety and like get to your healer and whatnot. Now, Binding Shot, because it has changed, it's now a root, not a stun. This is probably going to be better choice if you're really going to get tumbled by like melee, to be able to get that gap and whatnot. But overall, I still stuck with Post Haste. Okay, the level 90s, Stampede, totally useless. Like, come on, once you pop that, anyone that's played any type of PvP or PvE really will see that Stampede and literally just move out of the way of it. They've ruined Stampede over the years. Don't even bother with it. Barrage, I found, you know, it's 20-second cooldown. I mean, it wasn't really worth it. Over the testing that I didn't find that was the best. I found Stomp to be the most beneficial, especially for that AoE cleave. It's just usually coming down, especially when you get the procs of Barb Shot. It's this one I found the best to be out of the 3 talents here. And in the last tier, Spinning Cobras, don't even bother with that. This thing sucks. It really did. Like a 1.5 minute cooldown. I mean, you're going for the kills. Like, really, this thing is, not only was it a little buggy, but it just was useless. Like, for me, don't even bother. Whoa. Oh, hey, buddy. Killer Cobra. That's that whole, you know, Cobra Shot, Kill Command, Cobra Shot, Kill Command. Once again, in PvP, it's all fast moving and stuff. Like, they'll line you on that and you just don't. Like, it's up to you, but I don't like that. I found that Aspect of the Beast is just way more powerful. Increases damage of your pet's abilities by 30%. Increases the effectiveness of your pet's Predator's Thirst. So basically these things here. So you got Predator's Thirst, your endurance training, and your pathfinding. So that is for your arenas and that. Now, as far as what is that? There's just so much stuff. All the new animations and stuff are just still doing my head in. So we'll have a quick look at like your world PvP and like jewels and stuff. For jewels, in the first town, I still go with Killer Instinct. When you do get them in that kill range, everything like the stars will align and you start chomping them down. Because there's no healers or anything like that, it's just you and someone else. If you play your cards right, this still does lead the way. Once again, in the next tier, especially for dueling, Chimera Shot is still the best. Now, in War Mode, okay, so War Mode you can enable at your what is it? Your capital city, Stormwind and Orgrimmar, right? So when you've been flagged for PvP, what you as a hunter, you're all about that stealth. You don't want to be able to, you don't want to get the jump on. You want to be able to do your quests and just get the hell out of there. So I found that camouflage is best for dueling and your world scenarios. In the next tier, I still went with Murder of Crows because it's once again it's a great dot, especially on the stealth classes and you know like warriors and that when you just want to get all that burst damage out straight away. Murder of Crows was still the best. I found that Binding Shot was better for your world scenarios, especially if you've pulled a whole bunch of mobs and you need to just get yourself out of there, or if you're getting like ganked by 2 people and you need to make sure that you can just get out, feign death, drop aggro, get into camo and just sort of sneak away, go for something like Binding Shot. Or, you know, these two are the best. That's what I found anyway. In the next tier, like honestly, when we're talking about PvP and that, if you're doing duels, most of the people are going to be dueling around a pillar and that. Don't bother with Stampede. Same with Barrage. I still take Stomp for those situations. And in the last one, you can go either. Really, I would say you trial them both out, but like I just mentioned earlier, Aspect of the Beast is still a solid choice. And now, the reason why I didn't sort of talk about the PvP talents along with, you know, the individual types of PvP is because this is very, very situational. The key ones that I normally take are your Roar of Sacrifice. We've all been using that for a long time now. The next one would be, out of all of these, honestly, I'd still take Dire Beast Basilisk. It is a slow moving, you know, Basilisk, but it does a lot of damage. Trust me, especially with your duels and like your world PvP scenarios. It's all about trying to kill you. That's it. Nothing else. Dire Beast is the choice I take here. Okay, and other ones that I would take, Survival Tactics, great for dueling, especially when you feign death. You obviously reduce the damage, and if you've got the gear that I've got, you'll get that absorb as well. That is awesome. Arenas, it just helps you survive that little bit longer. Wild Protector is another one that I would go for if it's like heavy cleave, like every melee, your pets are going to be around you, and you'll be able to reduce that damage that's coming in. And the rest is sort of, you know, take it as it comes. Like now we get to choose which talents we want. We're not stuck to a tier, so you get to really pick. So the main ones that I take, like your Dire Beast, the Basilisk, the Wild Protector, and your Survival Tactics. Now in the top one, I always run with Gladiator's Medallion. I just love having that control over when I want to come out of CC. Now if you're a human, you'll obviously have every man for himself, so you can get out of the stuns. But like I said, this is just how I like to play and sort of give you guys a sort of an idea, especially if you new hunters, will help you out in the BFA PvP world. Alright guys, so now let's talk about pets in BFA and dueling and all the other cool PvP stuff. For world PvP and dueling, I have been running with my Spirit Beast. Now the reason for that is, one, they are tenacity pets, okay? They also give the Spirit Mend, which absolutely at the moment heals for so much, and it has saved me in so many duels, just that alone. With a short cooldown, you can keep like pumping that out. The next thing is they let me just open up their specs. They also bring endurance training, which increases your maximum health by 7%. They also bring survival of the fittest, which if someone's bursting on you, you do like Spirit Mend, you do then Survival of the Fittest, and you can just mitigate a lot of that initial burst damage. And they also bring Spirit Shock, which is a dispel. Great when you're dueling, say, warriors and whatnot. You can just dispel that rage and all other bits and pieces from like feral druids and everything else. One key thing that I have been dueling, I've been dueling a lot of Ret Paladins, and the one thing that I've been able to do is keep them kited so well because I can just purge off their freedom every time it comes up. It's absolutely awesome. Now, this may not be the best pet for arena situations, because I find that the Cunning family will bring because they bring Master's Call. It is way more beneficial for us, especially getting in and out of trouble. Yeah. Now, what I'll do is I will link somewhere on the screen a whole list of pet families, their abilities, so that way you can choose which pet you would like to take into your PvP scenarios. Okay, so feel free to pause the video here and have a look through all the bits and pieces that you might benefit from for your different comps and everything like that. Okay guys, let's have a quick overview of macros and how they work and how to write some for yourself to help you in your arenas and PvP life. This is going to be a brief overview. If you want anything more in depth, let me know down below and I'll be able to help you out. I may even make a BFA specific guide on them. Okay, so a few things we need to focus on. Firstly, making our pet attack the target we are focused on. So simply by adding /pet attack, this will make sure that the pet focuses on whatever you're trying to kill. This is especially important for your intimidation, because even though you might switch targets, your pet will still be on the same target until you use something like kill command or whatnot. If you use intimidation, it will stun the other target. So putting pet attack before it, it'll look at the target, okay, and then switch to it and then use intimidation on it. So be able to stun off targets and all that cool stuff. Now, the global cooldown has affected us pretty badly. Aspect of the Wild and Bestial Wrath are on the global cooldown together, so now they will not be able to run at the same time. When I say that, you can't just use them exactly at the same time. So these ones here, like for Blood Fury, which is your racial, Bestial Wrath, and any trinkets, they are off the global cooldown, so you can still stack them above each other. However, I have now got my aspect key bound to another button. I don't use things like a cast sequence. I mean, you can if you really want to like simply write something like that. You can just go /cast sequence. The next argument with a space is the reset. So you can either be reset with a time, like, you know, say 5 for 5 seconds, or target switch, depending on what you want. And then the abilities, obviously separated by a comma. I don't recommend that, but if it's what you want to do, go for it. Other things like, if you put, say, cast /cast in brackets, you can then put sort of modifying arguments. For example, like target equals player for my Spirit Mend, especially great in duels and whatnot. I don't have to mouse over myself and whatever. I can just simply get my pet to heal me. Modifying macros for my, say, freeze trap. I can have the option to shoot the trap, or if I'm saying getting like pummeled by a warrior and I needed to get some distance, if I hold shift, I can drop the trap in my feet and just keep running and all that other cool stuff. Let's say you have a focus, you can do things like target equals focus, great for your counter shot, especially if you've got like you're focusing the healer and you want to kill the DPS. You can see when they're casting a spell or a CC, you can kick the focus. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is really. Now, lastly, let's talk about Roar Sacrifice. Target equals party 1 or party 2, and player will be yourself. Like I said, if you want any more detailed macros, let me know, and we'll have a chat about it later. Alright guys and girls, let's end the video on a couple of duels. There's two very different duels here. One was all about damage, getting as much damage out, and the second one was more about our utilities and why they are so important and how to use them and when. So key points are your main abilities: kill command, barb shot, your cobra shot, Murder of Crows, all are things to be used off cooldown. Your other bits and pieces like your Bestial Wrath, and you would use that off cooldown as well. Your Aspect of the Wild, I like to use after I've used Bestial Wrath when I'm really going in for the kill. Reduces that focus cost and increases our critical strike. But if you look here, Now, the warrior is coming in to charge me. I need to get in a good position where I can have him under control, where I know he's not going to outrun my Dire Basilisk. So what I do is I trap him, get out, drop all my cooldowns onto him now, Murder of Crows, Bestial Wrath, everything like that. I'm using Kill Command off cooldown, because after the 35%, that's when the Kill Command is really going to go. Now, I know I've got him controlled, so I run over to my Dire Basilisk and just keep him around that to just really start chomping him down. Like I said, this was more about my offensive abilities and keeping the control of the fight and knowing your surroundings, if you know what I mean. Now, this second fight is against a rogue. This, you'll see a lot of defensive abilities coming out, not so much like my major ones like Turtle. I don't think I actually turtled in this fight at all, because I used my defensive abilities that I've got in with the Spirit Beast effectively. So in the opener, straight off the bat, this guy goes to town on me. You saw my health just drop. He drops all of his cooldowns. So what I did was I stunned him. I then used Spirit Mend on myself along with Survival of the Fittest to mitigate all of that initial burst damage. Knowing when to use cooldowns is important, defensive especially. Don't, trinket a 2-second kidney. Don't. You'll be able to survive that 2 seconds when you've got like a full kidney 5 seconds later. I didn't need to use my Turtle Shell then, because I had faith in my abilities. For example, my Azeroth traits, where I feign death, I get the damage reduction, plus I get that absorb. And you'll see this a little bit later on where I'm about to die. I feign death and it saved me from that death. Lastly, for example, knowing when to lock down a target to get yourself back up. It's all important. So essentially, knowing your target or knowing your enemy is massive. So right there, I knew that was his major attack. I trinketed it. I feigned death here to get that last bubble. And what it did, he had nothing left, so he resorted into running. So knowing your enemies is super important. Knowing what cooldowns they have, when are they going to use it, and how to bring them out. Alright guys, so that does it for the BM Hunter BFA PvP guide. This was a bit different. I've recorded all in OBS. This is like the first time I've done this, and this was like my first time of like commenting my battles and that. I hope you do get something out of this. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, make sure you leave them down below. If you did enjoy this, make sure you hit that like button, because it really does help me out understand exactly what you guys are after. And as always, you amazing people out there, you keep on sniping, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.